After assisting my girlfriend in moving into a place she couldn't afford on her own, she turned to her friends while I was installing her air conditioner in the sweltering 95-degree heat and said loud enough for me to hear, "He's not doing this out of love. He's doing it because he's afraid no one else would ever want him." What a pathetic little man. They all laughed while I stood there drenched in sweat, drilling into the wall. When I was done, she didn't even thank me, just looked at me with disdain and snapped, "You're only helpful when you keep quiet. Now go fix the shelves. You messed up last week, and try not to screw this up like you did our anniversary." I just laughed at her and left. That night, I did something that ruined everything. Yesterday, she showed up at my job, hair a mess, eyes red, screaming in the parking lot like a lunatic, saying I was ruining her life. So I'm typing this at around 2:30 a.m. because I'm still furious. I can't sleep, and honestly, I want to see if anyone else has had a similar experience. If you're looking for a happy ending or some kind of growth, just back out now. I'm not calm about this at all, and I don't plan to be. I want her to feel the consequences. So, background information. I'm Jensen, 29. No job title or anything, but I've picked up decent hands-on skills from years of fixing things myself when I couldn't afford to hire professionals. A while ago, I was selling my old window AC unit on Marketplace. Rebecca reached out, came over, and it turned out she actually needed help with her awful air situation. She had more plants than common sense, I swear, and this tiny apartment, that was way too expensive for what it was. We hit it off because she laughed at my joke about her dying succulents. They looked like they had been through a battle. She asked for help with a shelf, and one thing led to another. We started hanging out, then dating, and soon I was spending half my weeks at her place. Fast forward about 4 months, she became infatuated with a new place that was even pricier. She wanted the big girl apartment. She said it would be easy with my help, and that she'd get a roommate for the second bedroom. But honestly, after 2 weeks of looking, I figured I was the real backup plan. She had some wealthy friends, but they were all living with their parents, and she wanted to show off her independence. I wasn't naive. I noticed the signs. She had a lease offer, but couldn't afford it on her own. She asked if I would co-sign just for the paperwork. I agreed, but only if I was living there too. She said, "Duh, obviously." So we moved in, mostly me moving boxes while she took selfies for social media, showing off her view, which was just a brick wall in a parking lot. Her friends came to help, but mostly they just sat around eating the pizza I paid for and talking about how grown up the place was. I was sweating through my shirt, hauling her IKEA stuff up 3 flights of stairs because the elevator was out. Then her friend Danielle made a comment about how some guys just really like to be needed, and Rebecca laughed a little too hard. I brushed it off, thinking whatever. I was the only one actually doing anything. But then it kept happening. Little jabs like, "Oh, Jensen can probably fix it. He's good for that." And "He's so patient." I would have lost it by now. I started feeling more like a handyman than a boyfriend. The day everything exploded. It was pushing 95 outside. It felt even hotter inside. Rebecca had this new AC she begged me to install, despite the landlord saying no drilling. She insisted everyone does it anyway and wouldn't take no for an answer. I was in her bedroom, which had 2 fans pointed at her plants, working up a sweat trying to align the bracket. She was in the living room with her friends, Danielle, Phyllis, and Teresa, watching some TikTok challenge and arguing about who looked the worst. I could hear them through the open door. Then, loud enough for me to hear, Rebecca said, "He's not doing this because he loves me. He's doing it because he's scared no one else would want him. What a pathetic little man." Danielle laughed, Phyllis snorted, and Teresa said something like, "Wow, that's harsh." But she was grinning too. I stopped drilling, standing there with sweat dripping down my back, holding a screwdriver like a fool. They didn't even try to whisper, Rebecca continued, saying I was only useful when I was quiet and told her friends to wait. She'd get me to fix the shelves. I messed up last week, and maybe I'd manage not to screw this up like I did our anniversary. So I finished the installation, didn't say a word, and put her stupid plant shelf back exactly as it was, as tight as I could. I walked into the living room. Nobody looked up from their phones. I stood there for a moment, watching Rebecca scroll, her friends giggling. I said, "Hey, I'm done." She looked up, rolled her eyes, and said, "Good. Now go fix the shelves you messed up, And next time, don't screw up my anniversary. Not even a thank you. I just laughed. Not even a fake laugh. Just one of those, you've gotta be kidding, laughs. Danielle looked surprised, and Teresa said, "Ooh, he's mad." Rebecca just shrugged and didn't even look at me. I grabbed my bag and slammed the door behind me. She texted me less than 10 minutes later with just question marks. Then, "Where are you?" As if nothing had happened. I didn't respond. She called, but I let it ring. Later, she posted a passive-aggressive story about men who can't handle strong women, complete with a crying emoji, then deleted it. I didn't care. I went home, tossed my shirt in the hamper, and sat on my couch while my phone buzzed. I was furious. I wasn't sad, just mad. I had spent months doing everything for her, sacrificing my time, money, and credit, and she never appreciated any of it. She just wanted me around to fix her issues and pay for her stuff to impress her friends. I started thinking about all the things she wouldn't have if it weren't for me. The AC, the shelves, her lease, her internet, half the kitchen, even the security deposit. All of it was because of me. I called my dad and told him what happened. He said, "Don't let people use you, son. Don't allow them to think they can get away with it." I replied, "Yeah, I know. Here's the deal. I'm not the type to just sit around and be laughed at. If she wants to treat me like I'm just her handyman, fine. But she's about to discover what it feels like when someone she thinks is pathetic stops being useful." I already started making moves that night. I'm keeping it legal, but I'm not letting this slide. She's going to wish she had kept her mouth shut. And before anyone says it, yes, I know I put myself in this situation, but I'm not allowing her to walk all over me again. If she wants to play games, she'll learn quickly who needs who. If you've ever had someone treat you poorly like this, you know what I mean? More updates coming soon. It's about to get real. Update 1. I appreciate everyone who commented on my last post or just read it. I needed to vent. I didn't expect so many people to have gone through something similar. It's wild. Anyway, here's part 2, and just so you know, I'm still angry, and I won't pretend I'm above being petty. I warned you all this wasn't going to be a healing story. The morning after I walked out, I woke up to a flood of texts from Rebecca. Not an apology, not even a hint of, "Hey, maybe I went too far." She just wanted to know if I was coming back to fix her broken Wi-Fi and bring her the box of kitchen supplies she left at my place. She has this way of acting like nothing happened. Like if she ignores it, it will just go away. I also received a message from Danielle asking if I could help her move a couch next weekend. I left them all on read. My phone was buzzing nonstop, so I muted everything. I debated blocking her, but to be honest, I'm not done yet. And I want to see what she tries next. I went to the gym to clear my head, still fuming. On my way home, I saw Phyllis in the parking lot at the grocery store. She acted all awkward, and then said Rebecca was stressed, and maybe I should just apologize. It's not that deep. I just laughed and kept walking. Here's the thing you need to know. Rebecca's whole independent woman act is barely holding together. She moved into that apartment to prove to her friends that she was on their level, but she's always talking about how broke she is, how her parents won't help her anymore, and how she just needs a win. She's got this chip on her shoulder about being the only one not living at home or getting money from family. She covers it up by acting superior, especially towards me. I think deep down she treats me poorly because she's insecure, and it's easier for her to put me down than admit she needs help. Not an excuse, just the reality. But I'm not her emotional punching bag or her wallet. The night after the explosion, I sat at my kitchen table looking at everything I had done for her. I paid the deposit, I co-signed the lease because her credit was terrible, and she claimed it was just a number, not who she was. I set up the internet and was paying the bill because she forgot to transfer it. I bought the AC unit, and she promised to Venmo me, but she still hasn't. Even the fridge is partly mine because hers was empty when she moved in. I thought, what happens if I just stop helping? First move. I logged into the Wi-Fi account and changed the password. Not being petty, just thinking, why should I pay for her to post TikToks about how strong she is? I sent her the new bill and told her she could Venmo me or get her own account. She blew up my phone saying she couldn't live without the internet because she needed it for work, doing gig jobs and online surveys. I told her it wasn't my problem, and if she didn't pay by the end of the week, I would cancel it altogether. Then, I texted the landlord. I was nervous about this, but I told the truth. I'm moving out and not paying anything past this month. Remove me from the lease. She's the only one left on it, and her income alone doesn't meet the requirements. The landlord said, "Fine, but the rent will go up to the market rate unless she finds a new co-signer or roommate." I said, "That's on her." I received a string of furious messages from her, followed by one from Teresa calling me immature and saying I was ruining everything for no reason. I snapped back, telling them I'm not their handyman, I'm not a bank, and I'm definitely not here to be anyone's doormat. Later that night, she showed up at my door, didn't even knock, just banged until I opened it. She started yelling, saying I couldn't just abandon her, that I promised to help. I told her, "You made it clear what you think of me, and I'm not sticking around to be insulted in my own relationship." She pushed past me into my place and began throwing stuff from my counter, grabbing her mug from my dish rack. I told her to calm down, but she slapped my hand when I tried to take the mug back. I let her storm around for a minute, then told her she needed to leave. She slammed the door so hard that my keys fell off the hook. I called my dad and told him what happened. He just sighed and said, "Some people only learn the hard way." He was right. The next day, she flooded our group chat, trying to turn it around so that I was the villain. She claimed I was financially abusing her and that I set her up to fail. Danielle and Phyllis initially bought into it, but then I dropped a screenshot of the lease and my payment receipts, saying I wasn't paying a dime more and she could figure out her own situation. She tried to persuade me to return and fix things, claiming she'd talked to the landlord and maybe we could renegotiate. I said, "Nah, I'm good." She called me a selfish jerk and said I'd regret it. I know some of you are going to say I'm being harsh, but she made her choice. She doesn't respect me, just what I can do for her. Not anymore. One last thing. I received a Venmo request from her for the broken shelf she claims I ruined. She wanted $30 for the damage. I just took a screenshot and sent it back to the group chat with a note that said, "You break it, you buy it." Danielle left the group, and Phyllis hasn't said a word since. I have a feeling this isn't over. She's not the type to take a loss quietly. I can sense she's going to try something, but I'm not worried or scared. She's about to find out what happens when you treat the person fixing your life like they're disposable. If she wants to play games, I can play harder. Update soon. Update 2. Honestly, I wasn't even going to post again, but the last 48 hours have been absolutely insane. So here goes. This is where things got messier than I even expected. Not in a dramatic way, just real public chaos. The first sign something was off was when a mutual friend, not even in the main group, just this guy Julian who sometimes comes to board game night, texted me out of the blue. He asked, "Hey man, are you okay?" Rebecca claims I'm financially abusing her and basically left her homeless. I wasn't even mad, just exhausted at this point. So I sent him the screenshot of the lease and my Venmo history showing I paid for literally everything. He didn't respond for a while, then just replied, "Damn, that's rough." I already knew Rebecca wasn't going to take the loss quietly, but I underestimated how far she'd go. She started posting stories everywhere, tagging me, tagging my friends, all this stuff about how men are terrible and how she had to do everything herself, claiming I stole from her. She even posted a photo of the AC in the window saying, "Some people can't even do the basics right." I was thinking, girl, you begged me for that AC and didn't pay me back. Whatever. What really got to me was her trying to warn other people, not just mutual friends, but anyone who followed us both. She began messaging people I hardly even talked to, including a girl I dated briefly last year, telling them I was dangerous, manipulative, and unreliable. She claimed I ghosted her and left her with all the bills. I got a DM from Phyllis, who I thought was just a bystander, demanding I take responsibility and at least help Rebecca find a new roommate. I simply replied, "Not my problem," and left it at that. Then I got a text from my dad asking if everything was okay, because someone messaged him on Facebook. No lie, Rebecca contacted my dad trying to get him to talk sense into me. He was just confused and annoyed. He said he blocked her, but really, who does that? I told him to ignore her, and he said, "I hope you're not getting yourself into legal trouble." I'm not, but it's wild she's even trying. So this is where it gets more public. She began telling people she was going to take me to court for emotional damages and that she was consulting a lawyer. I don't know if she really is, but I know she doesn't have the money for that, and she's bluffing, hoping I'll cave. She also tried to get into our old group chat and started harassing Danielle and Teresa to get on her side, but Danielle messaged me separately saying she was over it and tired of Rebecca's drama. Phyllis is apparently taking a break from the group because it's too much. Now, Rebecca's running out of people to lash out at, and I guess she's angry about that too. On top of everything, she started missing payments. I received a call from the landlord saying rent was overdue, and if it wasn't sorted by next week, they'd start formal notices. I told him again that I'm not on the lease anymore and not paying anything. That's on Rebecca. The landlord was upset, but not at me. Then I received a strange email. Her new job or job interview was asking me for a reference. It turns out she listed me as a character reference because I know her best. Never asked me, just assumed I'd go along with it. I replied honestly, nothing mean, just that I wasn't comfortable recommending her and didn't think she was responsible with commitments. I don't know if that cost her the job or not, but she texted me about 10 minutes later in all caps, thanking me for nothing. I didn't respond. Now the group chat is dead, her friends are bailing, and she's basically spiraling. I keep getting weird DMs from people I barely know. Some saying she's crying on live about how I ruined her life. Others asking if I'm okay. I just muted everything and went to my dad's for dinner because I'm honestly sick of the drama. He grilled burgers, and we didn't even discuss it. Yesterday when I went to get groceries, I ran into Teresa outside the store. She awkwardly waved and said, "You know, none of this would have happened if you just let her have her way." I replied, "Yeah, that's the whole problem." She shrugged and said, "Rebecca's always had this thing about losing face, and hates when people make her look bad." I guess that's really it. She blew up because she couldn't control the narrative. She needed me to be the villain so she wouldn't have to admit that she messed up her own life. Last thing, my phone's been blowing up all week. I'm getting random calls from numbers I don't recognize. Today, I hear from Julian again that Rebecca is telling everyone she's going to show up at my job and make me pay. I just laughed because at this point, I'm honestly not surprised by anything. I told him, let her try. I could have just blocked her, but I wanted her to see what happens when the person you push around finally stands up for himself. It's not even about revenge anymore. It's just about not letting her write the narrative. I don't care if people believe me or not. I know what happened, and so do the people who matter. She says I ruined her life. I say she did that herself. Apparently that's not the end, as I heard she's planning something for tomorrow. I can't wait to see what her next move is. I'll update if it gets any crazier. Stay tuned. Final update. So here's the final part. If you thought she was going to go quietly, you haven't met Rebecca? I thought it was over after she blew up all her social media and tried to drag my name through every group chat in the city. But some people just need an audience. If this gets deleted, it's not because I chickened out. It's because I'm honestly done with the whole mess. It all started kind of dull. After her public meltdown online, I just stopped caring, muted everything, and even deleted Instagram for a bit to avoid seeing her name. My dad called a few times to see if I wanted to come over for dinner, and I actually went to escape my phone. He asked if she was still causing drama. I said, only when someone's watching. He just shook his head. Thursday rolled around, and it was a normal day. I was dealing with my own stuff when I got a text from Julian that simply said, "Hey, heads up." I thought maybe something happened to his car again or something, but then I checked my phone and saw 3 missed calls from an unknown number. Kind of weird, but whatever. I'm not calling back random numbers anymore, not after last week. Then, right around lunch, I was outside getting food when I saw a car pull up too fast and park crooked across 2 spots. It was Rebecca, looking rough. Hair all tangled, face red, wearing an old hoodie I hadn't seen since last year. She jumped out, slammed the door, and started yelling before she was even halfway across the lot. It was the kind of shouting you hear before a fight video goes viral, except this was real, not funny. She yelled, "You ruined my life. You're a coward. You're going to pay for everything you did." I barely reacted. I just stood there with my sandwich while people stared. She was waving her phone around, claiming she had proof I abused her and that everyone was going to know what I was really like. I told her to calm down and just talk to me like a normal person, but she wouldn't listen. She tried to shove past me to get inside, so I blocked the door. She pushed my arm, and when I stepped back, she went for the handle anyway. I said, You need to leave." She threw her phone on the ground, started crying, then screaming, then crying again, all in about 30 seconds. Security came out and asked what was going on. She started yelling at them too, claiming I was her ex and that I trapped her in a lease, that I owed her money. I told security, "Look, we broke up. She's just upset about rent. That's all." They asked her to leave, but she refused and tried to push past them. She slapped one of the guards when he grabbed her arm, and that was it. They called for backup. Everyone was watching now, people pulling out their phones, of course, but nobody was helping. I just stood there, sandwich forgotten, while she screamed that I was the reason she couldn't pay bills, couldn't find another place, and couldn't get a job. Security finally managed to get her away from the door, but she kept yelling at me, saying I made her look weak and embarrassed her in front of everyone, and that I was the real problem. I just kept saying, "You've gotta go. I'm not doing this. You need to leave." They eventually got her back to her car, and she slammed the door so hard it echoed, sitting there for a minute with her head on the wheel. I almost walked over, but I stopped myself and just went back inside. I saw a couple of acquaintances who looked awkward, but didn't say anything. Later, I checked my phone and saw a message from Phyllis asking what happened with Rebecca. I didn't even reply. Later that night, I got a call from the landlord. He said Rebecca was officially out. She missed the rent deadline. They're changing the locks, and she's responsible for everything left unpaid. He asked if I had a forwarding address for her. I said, "Nope. I don't think there's some wise ending where I learned to be a better person or whatever. I just stopped letting someone treat me like garbage. If she wanted to paint me as the villain, fine." I didn't care anymore. The next day, I started receiving a string of texts from random numbers. Some threats, some begging, some just weird. I ignored them all. My dad asked if I was all right, and I said, "Yeah, I'm good." Honestly, I don't feel guilty. She played games and lost. People like her never really learn. They just find a new person to blame. I heard from Julian that she's trying to crash on Danielle's couch, but Danielle isn't answering her calls anymore. I'm not saying I'm proud of everything I did, but I don't regret any of it. I gave her more chances than she deserved, and when she showed me who she was, I finally believed it. You don't get to treat people poorly and then cry when they walk away and take everything with them. That's real life, not some sad story you tell to make yourself look better. So if you've ever let someone walk all over you and then freak out when you stop helping, just know you're not alone. Sometimes the only way to win is to walk away and watch them self-destruct. I'm out.